on. All right, everyone. Welcome to Beasts of the East, Urban Legends, Hauntings, and Filming Locations. My name is L.R. Staszak, or you can call me Larissa by my name. Introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. I'm Matt Lolich. I am a podcaster and a filmmaker, and Larissa has been on my show before, and we're very excited to do this today for you guys. And hey, look at this! All right, crash landing guests. This is not scripted. We did not plan this. I swear.
Got to get those photos in. So yes, I'm an author. I've done horror and fantasy books. I've done one officially licensed Blair Witch Project interactive storytelling app. I also do toy photography, but that's not what this panel is about. And then Neil, as you're settling in.
Yes. Good Lord, Shaun of the Dead photo op, right at the minute. So Neil Cohen, I'm the author of 3 zombie novels, Exit Zero, Nuke Jersey, and Zombie Democracy, and my last book, Business is Dead, all about entrepreneurship based on fandom.
All right, and then Matt Blazi should be here soon. He's he's the author of 8 Days in the Woods. So he's worked with the Blair Witch fandom, and he's appeared in some of Romero's zombie films, so he'll be here shortly. But let's see. All right, so we're mostly going to talk about filming locations, but we'll start this off with urban legends and haunted places. So first off, how many of you are familiar with the Bunny Man? Yeah. All right, that's a big one around here. All right, so the general story is that there is someone in a bunny. You hear different versions of the story, but the general one is in the 20s. There was a bus full of people going to an asylum or a prison, and the buses crashes, and there's escapees, and they catch them all except for one. And then the idea is behind the story, these bunnies start showing up dead, and then humans start showing up dead around this bridge. And then it's another attack happened in the 70s, I believe the story goes, and these teenagers all end up dead hanging from the bridge. There is no historical truth to this whatsoever. I really don't think that place is haunted, but it's a great story. The locations, you have to be, they don't like you going around the bridge, but it is accessible. This is in Clifton, the Bunny Man Bridge. Colchester Overpass is the name. The story about them going to an asylum is in Lorton. However, there is no asylum in Lorton. There is an old prison, though. So that's the Lorton Prison or Workhouse Arts Center, as it's been converted into an arts center. Although there's also buildings rotting in the area, too, from the back in the day. I know, Matt, you've done a lot of things with, what would you like to say about Bunny Man? Yeah,
Bunny Man is a great, great urban legend. So shameless promotion, go to hilltopvideos.com to check out a short I did on it. The Bunny Man of Clifton. So yeah, as she mentioned, it's kind of way out there if you've been out there. If you've driven out there, it's super spooky at night. It's a long, windy road off in Fairfax. It takes you down to Colchester Overpass. Trains run through it, across it. It's a little tiny, narrow, one-lane road that goes through. Don't bother people. Don't park your car. Please don't do that. People down there do not like that. But if you want to do a drive-by, go for it. Yeah, legend is an escaped asylum. Someone from an asylum escaped. A man in a suit dressed in a bunny suit throwing axes at people's cars. These are actually articles that were in newspapers. So weird things have happened.
They didn't die. That's why I'm like, it's not historical.
No one died.
There were people in suits. Yes.
Yes, this is true. The legend, you go there at midnight on Halloween and you'll be killed by the Bunny Man and gutted rabbits and things like that. And there is really no truth to this. This is a lot of hearsay and stories. But they always say there's a kernel of truth to each little story, right? So it's a fun little story to talk about for sure.
All right, well, I'll let you talk about Chessie. That's the one you're more familiar with.
Chessie, yeah. So everybody knows about Nessie, obviously. Does anybody know about Chessie? Chesapeake? Okay, yes, good. More than I thought. That's awesome. So I was lucky enough that I did a documentary on it years ago. You can watch that online as well. If you go to YouTube, just search Hilltop Productions LLC, you'll get all these on there. I was lucky enough to meet a gentleman by the name of Eric Cheesem. Did his dissertation on the legend of Chessie. Outstanding. He was the best, a wealth of information. Really, it became a story about not so much a monster, but about culture and the way things have changed and what people view in this monster, how it came to be. Now, people claim to have seen this monster. There is the famous story, Bob Frew. You've probably heard of it if you know the story. Lives up on, I can't remember the name of the, Kent Island. And on Memorial Day, 1980, 82, something like that, he's having a party, a barbecue with his family. They look out into the water. Holy crap, there's Chessie. He records it on tape. This is unfortunately not a video like most of Nessie sightings where you can see this online. It doesn't exist. My guy Eric has seen this. I've never seen it. It's pretty hard to track down. Not a lot of evidence on it, but a fun piece to do nonetheless. The sightings have died off over the last few decades. I haven't heard much about it lately, at least, but it's a fun story. People do believe there is something in the Chesapeake Bay, so very, very cool stuff.
All right, then there's the Richmond Vampire in, as you guessed, Richmond. The idea is there's a cemetery there, and there's this one particular crypt that they say that a vampire ran into after drinking the blood of people at a cave-in. Now, there really was a cave-in where the bodies are still to this day, but obviously the legend behind is that there was this vampire that ran off. Let's see, Jersey Devil. Either Matt Blazi or Neil, do you want to talk about that?
Unfortunately, I'm not. No. Yeah, I apologize. I was late. I was waiting for my photo op picture to print out.
And let us know who you are. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So my name is Matt Blazi. I run the Blair Witch Experience, the film location tour for the Blair Witch Project, and I'm the author of 8 Days in the Woods, the making of the Blair Witch Project. I have friends from Jersey, but I've never gotten too much into the Jersey Devil. I mean, I've seen the last broadcast and I've read some stuff, but I don't know too much about it. So it's one of those things I want to learn.
Yeah, so I grew up in Jersey. So Jersey Devil was just one of many scary things about New Jersey. Now, you probably think, my God, what more could be scary about New Jersey? Yes, there are haunts. There are haunted roads. There are strange unsolved murders. Not all of them are from the mafia. And so the Jersey Devil. Now, recently, I read an article about this type of bat. And the bat actually has a face like Joe Camel. And I believe it's Australian. I can't remember the type of the bat. And when they went back and looked at the drawings and the descriptions of the Jersey Devil, it looked very similar to this type of bat, although much larger. But then there was actual discussion, which shows this legend just never dies. Could have someone brought one of these exotic bats to New Jersey and it got out, and that's what people were seeing. So that's still to be seen or to be solved, is the Jersey Devil.
Awesome. Well, since you're so familiar with the haunted New Jersey, would you like to speak on the Green Light Cemetery?
So, yeah, when I grew up, one of the most terrifying places in New Jersey was the Green Light Cemetery. And it's, I always, when I got older, I thought, was this just a Jersey thing? Like, was this just my group? Did anyone else know about this? So I actually had to Google it, and sure enough, there's a Wikipedia page, there's all the history. So I'm glad it kind of got beyond Jersey. But what we used to do as kids is you go to the Green Light Cemetery at night, and you walked around, and there was these floating green orbs. And so many people saw them. And I never did, but there was another area of New Jersey that I found more terrifying. Has a very sad story. A child was hit by a car on a very dark, deserted road. The parents set up his bedroom on the side of the road. Walls, toys, everything. You swear, when you went there at night, it was the most terrifying thing ever to see. And there was always reports of the figures, the stuffed toys, the things on the wall moving. I found that even more terrifying than Green Light Cemetery. But I think every petty, and I'm sure this DC, no one's from DC. Everybody in this room is probably from, a few, okay. I did not realize there was actually people that were born in Washington.
Y'all realize we actually.
Yep. There you go. But what was it? I missed. Oh, but
That's a new urban legend now.
yes. But wherever you came from, I guarantee there was that one house, that one road, the one spate of woods that was haunted. and that everybody instinctively knew and grew up, and it was passed on and on and on, that was the legendary place of horror in that small town, big city.
All right, so we also have Mothman on here. I'll admit, I don't know too much about Mothman. I've seen chibi pictures and like risque pictures of Mothman, but and I see there's at least one in the audience here with cosplay. So, do you guys want to speak on any on Mothman? Yeah.
I can talk quick about. I did an episode on the podcast on Mothman and the movie Mothman Prophecies, which I don't know if anyone's seen. Took me 2 watches. Yeah, it actually was really good the second time I saw it, but kind of one of those passage of time things. But yeah, so Point Pleasant, West Virginia, and the story of the Mothman that appeared in the '60s and terrorizing people in their cars and foretelling bad things that were going to happen, right? Like the Silver Bridge, I guess, that collapsed in the city there, and they said they would see these sightings beforehand.
Always the bridges.
Right? It's a big thing there. There's a big giant statue of Mothy there. There's a museum. I have not been, but I know it's a very cool tourist thing to do out there, so check it out for sure. Yeah, I don't know a ton other than that, though, myself either. I've never been, so.
You know, when we were pre-planning this, we didn't come on the conversation. I wonder at what point does a local horror legend get to the maximum capacity that it becomes a film, a national film, a nationally known event.
Yeah.
Like, there's no national film on Greenlight Cemetery. Everybody in Jersey knows Greenlight Cemetery. No one outside of New Jersey. There's not going to be a movie. Here, Mothman, in this little spate of bridge between Ohio and West Virginia, becomes a movie. I think Richard Gere was in it.
Yeah. Laura Linney?
I think the interesting thing about that too is that because these are urban legends, there is usually not copyright with the original one, so people can do, for the most part, what they want.
That's why there's 7,000 Amityville movies, because it's just called Amityville.
Oh, they're going nuts. There's an Amityville Christmas movie.
Yes, there is.
It was bad. All right, so haunted places. We kind of discussed this already, but the Lorton Prison is the good one, the one from the Bunny Man. They've also opened a Bunny Man brewery on campus, which is kind of fun to visit. I know I volunteer there at the museum sometimes, and I know I heard weird whispers once that made no sense. So, and people say they've seen the ghosts of the old prisoners walking around. There's loads of stories, and it's a public space you can walk around, so that's always fun. Old House Woods?
Old House Woods. Old House Woods. Anyone know about Old House Woods? Okay. So Old House Woods is about a 50-acre or so patch of woods sitting on the Chesapeake Bay, Matthews, Diggs, Virginia, technically, Middle Peninsula, right? There's nothing there. But this is a crazy haunted stretch of woods that people have talked about for hundreds of years, right? Revolutionary War soldiers coming ashore, pirates burying treasure, right? There's a story of a storm woman whose husband was killed at sea, and she comes to warn people. It's got all these soldiers coming back to walk down the road in their armor, clanging as they walk down the road, asking where their ships are. Really spooky stuff. I went down there years ago and did a documentary on it. It's titled The Haunting of Old House Woods, and I got to meet some locals and get some stories, heard some stories. People used to live there. I got a lot of great interviews. And I was down there flying my drone and doing a couple things, and you're down there in those woods on your own, you're constantly looking behind you and wondering if something is here with me, and it's a beautiful little spot, but you can totally buy into the fact that this place is super, super haunted. So there's been activity going on down there for hundreds of years. Unfortunately, they're starting to tear some of the forestry up there, but they left a lot of it alone. I guess the Old House Woods name itself came, there was an old decrepit house lived somewhere deeper into the woods. Travel Channel did a piece on it that was not very flattering to the area. The one I did, I think, was received much better. People liked it down there that saw it. So that's a really fun spot. If you're way down there, there's really not much. If you're in Williamsburg, maybe it might be worth going to, but otherwise it's way out of your way. But it's been a paranormal hotbed forever. Very cool place.
And how about Point Lookout State Park?
Ooh, Point.
Away. I got lots of stories.
All right. Wonderful. Yeah.
You didn't drag any entities with you.
Yeah,
You're not patient zero of a haunting here.
No, they actually didn't like me. Every time we tried to take a picture of me when they first opened the house in 2006, after the state finally took it back from the ghost scar, the house was very falling apart, but they were letting people in to try to raise money and start restoring it. Well, the ghosts apparently didn't like me because every time they tried to take a picture of me, the camera wouldn't work.
Right.
It's like the Robert the Doll thing. I've heard that those things, it won't let you take pictures.
Oh yeah, that's a big thing. So yeah.
I swear, I think there's a demon in that house. Because
Really?
I felt a really bad feeling in there.
Interesting.
The property where the prison was, it feels like more depressing because it was a Civil War prison. You kind of feel, but in the house, I felt this very bad feeling in there.
Well, there you go. I don't think I need to say anything, right? But yeah, Point Lookout, though, yeah, if you guys, it was it's a lighthouse now. Confluence of the Chesapeake and the Potomac, Southern Maryland, Civil War prison. Hundreds of people, soldiers, I think died there. There's a cemetery on the site. They're redoing a lot of stuff now, I think, but lots of activity there. I think they did tours for a while, but I don't know if that's a thing anymore. But that is a spot that I've wanted to get into with some devices for quite some time. So we'll see if they ever let us in. We should do a tour.
And then I threw Old Town Alexandria on there. There's just a bunch of ghost stories, kind of cheesy ones, but you can do tours there, and that's not too far from here. So,
Now,
all right.
Quick thing on I just remembered on Alexandria, if you go to 219, the bar called 219, the top floor, I have been there many times. They have a really good bar. And I have heard from at least a dozen people that have worked there that place is so haunted that everybody has seen things. The staff do not even want to be on the third floor alone.
Oh my gosh, it's pretty bad then.
Yeah.
All right, so filming locations. We got some pictures of all of us at different filming locations here. We're going to go with the closest one here for starters, so The Exorcist. So for panelists, we can each go over our own slides. Neil, I'll let you jump in. I'm not sure if we have too many photos, but we'll start out with Matt Lolich. There's your slide. So, and you give tours, so let's,
I mean, I've been talking about and taking people to the Exorcist stairs for as long as I can remember. I live in Arlington, so it's right across the river. Luckily, I started kind of a tour. I've been taking friends there for years, and people are like, why don't you do something? So finally made like an actual organized tour a couple of years ago. It's every October, obviously. You know, we spend about an hour or so taking you to the stairs and take you around Georgetown where they shot most of the film, of course, because it was all shot there, pretty much all of it.
except for the interior, I think.
Interiors, yes, correct. Most of the churches, most of the streets. It's a fun kind of historic thing to look around. It all looks the same to this day, which is really kind of amazing, which is really very cool. And, you know, one thing that really, the picture in the bottom corner you see, 2015, they did the dedication. And they actually had the city come and put up a plaque on and recognize it. And Bowser was there, and William Friedkin was there, and Blatty was there, and it was this amazing evening of just media, and it was so much fun to talk about the film and actually recognize it. Now, if you go, you'll see that plaque at the bottom of the stairs. Really, really cool.
It's also Pokemon Go Stop.
There you go. Pokemon
I think
Go
if the
Stop.
stairs are too, I laugh
Forget the
when I play.
movie, Pokemon Go. That's all we need to know. So, and then the coolest part of this was, you know, this is one of these, like, I guess, reward things. We'll talk about stuff like that. I've been doing this for so long, you know, finally Global News Canada calls me up last year and says, hey, 50 years of The Exorcist, you want to do a piece for us? So next thing I know, I'm on Canadian television talking about The Exorcist at 50 years. So it was like, it's a cool thing to do. It was a lot of fun. You know, the tour's in October. If you go to the website, Scary Movie Project, you'll always see info on it when we'll get it going again.
I do want to put in the caveat that the Pokemon are possessed and they will spew green soup at you. So
I'm pretty sure I took an AR photo of a Ghastly by the steps. So, all right, here's some of my pictures. Obviously, it's fun to lower yourself down and lie down at the bottom of the steps.
I've actually never done it. Yeah.
The house is interesting to see. Obviously, you don't enter the premises. There are people living there, but it's there was part of it was. Part of the wall was constructed for the film, so it's, instead of being L-shaped, it's only one area. Obviously, you can see Georgetown University, the bottom right, you can go inside. I think that's more The Exorcist 3. Like if you've seen that scene with it's supposed to be a devil statue, but it looks like the Joker for some reason. You can go inside and see those, that as well. So, all right, Matt Blazi, let's...
Yeah, when I do movie locations, I got to go all out. So I got on the ground as quickly as I could, and I had to match it up. So I had my foot on the step just like Father Karras did. I'm next level. So you can see with some of my pictures, one of the things I like to do is I try to take the exact same shot and angle for context for people that if you post them online, they're like, oh, I know that's The Exorcist, but trying to relate that to where it is in the movie. That's what I do. So I spend a lot of time printing out pictures and screen grabs so I can go get as many pictures as I can. One of the funnest things to do is you never know who you're going to run into when you're doing film locations, especially something like The Exorcist. Every single person knows why you're there. But there's nothing like going to do a film location at someone's house and they come out and they go, "What are you doing?" And you go, "Well, you know, a movie was filmed here like 40 years ago." And they're like, "It was?" I always have a copy of the movie on my phone. That's how I took me and 12 folks from Britain to see some guy's bathroom out in Pittsburgh because there was a scene in a movie film there. He happened to look out his door and saw a van of 12 people getting out, and he asked us questions, and we were like, "Well, can we see your bathroom?" He's like, "Not all at once, but yeah, come on in."
Which movie was this?
Martin. George Romero's Martin. Yeah. So it's fun to do the big stuff, but then I really sometimes get into the nitty gritty. I will look for street crossings and road signs to try to do if it's a pivotal scene that no one's ever done before, or it's just a little hard to get to sometimes. But you know, I did one trip to Georgetown so far. I plan on going back, trying some new techniques and getting some more of the different shots that I wasn't able to before.
All right, well, next. Sure. The one thing, Matt Lolich, I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name. One thing we did, there are, if you sign up, you can go into the archives at Georgetown, and they have photos and printouts from, was it 1972 when they filmed? There's the Polaroids of Ellen Bernstein, so they have these in their archives in their library. So if you sign up as a researcher, you can go and actually hold these actual photographs and faxes in your hand.
Negatives, like white
Negatives,
gloves.
too.
You
Yeah.
can look up at these negatives, these actual shots of the night. They shot the night scene. Like, you can see the lights, you can see the production crew, and it's like, you know,
Behind the scenes.
I wasn't around, but there, you know, that's as close as you're ever going to get to seeing these iconic shots of, like, you know, when she opens the door and the priest comes in and he's in shadow. And you remember that scene and you think, holy crap, like I actually get to see how they shot this. That's powerful. Like, it was really amazing to see that.
It's also kind of funny just to see 1 million people standing around the priest and then the big light bulbs and everything.
Yeah.
But, all right, so the next closest would be the Blair Witch Project. So, Matt Blazi, I'll kick it off with you since you know pretty much everyone who's involved with that and do the tours.
How many people have not been in the woods since they saw the Blair Witch Project? The Blair Witch Project did for the woods what Jaws did for the water. What a lot of people don't know is the Blair Witch Project was filmed in and around Seneca Creek State Park, outside of Germantown, Maryland. But most of the actual woods are in the middle of neighborhoods, so they're not that far. I think it took me longer to walk from the convention floor to here than what the house from the end of the film was from a house in a neighborhood. So it really goes to a testament of that. Every year I take people out in the woods and we do all the filming locations. The picture on the right is co-director Ed Sanchez. We actually go to the woods where they hung the stickmen, and we rebuild stickmen and hang them back in those woods. So right now there's about 50 or 60 in there from the Blair Witch experience last year, and we just keep repopulating the woods over and over. Burkittsville, they shot one scene. The town has a very interesting relationship with the movie. It's gotten a little bit better over the last few years with my event and book. A friend of mine and Larissa's is the mayor, so he's been a good liaison between the fans and events. So we've screened the movie there. We hold little events and whatnot there. And I think next week is the cemetery cleanup, so they invite people to come out. It's always a thing of goodwill to go and give back when we do this. But for the Blair Witch Project, almost everything is within a 2-minute walk from a road. So everything they shot in those woods, they just zigzagged them all through the woods. And it's sometimes a little hard to find those locations because you're in the middle of the woods. The scene on the left that's the corner of the house where Mike is standing. At the end of the film, the house fell down in 2006 from a hurricane. I actually did get to go to the house in 2000 while it was still standing. And again, it was the middle of the day. It was a little creepy because it's just this house behind an old surface-to-air defense missile base out in Granite.
Very cool to go see if you haven't been there.
I've seen a few of those. There was another film location for Day of the Dead out in Pittsburgh. The big elevator where all the zombies come down, that was actually underground at a Nike missile base out in Irwin, PA, that I got to see before they filled that in. But a lot of these film locations are great because they're all over the place. And they're usually pretty accessible. There's a ton of websites out there now. A lot of hobbyists like me will share it when people go out. Unfortunately for my wife and family, anytime we go on vacation, I'm asked what film locations I'm gonna go to this time. So I try to sweeten the deal with like lunch or another side trip. Like my wife finally got to see the cherry blossoms in person last week, only because I wanted to do a True Lies location in Chevy Chase. So it worked out. She got to see trees. I got to take pictures of someone's house. It all works out. But yeah, these are usually pretty fun. I spend a lot of time researching because I want to go and have the best experience, but then I want to be able to share that with other people because someone might want to go do The Exorcist or Martha's Vineyard. And I'm like, here's what you need to do if you want to have a great time and get everything. There's a lot of research you can do beforehand. Some of it can get very nitty gritty. But a lot of times people know what you're there for. They see you taking pictures next to something. I was just in Macy's in Philadelphia the other week because they were closing it down, but Mannequin was filmed there. So I have all my pictures out. I went down to buy a mannequin from the Mannequin store to have before they closed. Like certain movies I just love. Mannequin's not a good movie, but God, do I love that movie. You know, so doing stuff like this is fun because people come from Germany and England for the experience, so it's a chance for them to come over and see stuff. And a lot of these people just come out every year just to hang out, and that's what the film location hobby has become, is just people just going and recreating scenes, like laying in the middle of the street or shouting lines. I mean, I've shouted, "What are you waiting for I know what you did last summer," in the middle of that neighborhood. I felt bad for the people there because I'm sure that happens all the time, but I was like, if I don't do this, I'm gonna not feel that this is a good trip. So my biggest thing is if you ever go to a film location, as long as it's legal and not disruptive, recreate the scene. You may look like a goofball, but I promise you you're not, because people know what you're doing and they've probably done it themselves. So just live it up.
I think my brother and I probably confused everyone around Georgetown because we were in front of the house and we were recreating the scene from Scary Movie 2 where the priest runs out, doesn't pay the fare, so I'm running, "Hey, pay the fare!" My brother's screaming. Neil, is there anything have you been to Maryland or are there any of these that you've?
I have not. I have not. I've not been to, I'm embarrassed to say, and you're probably going to kick my ass right after this, but no, I haven't been to the Blair Witch area, and I've been to the Exorcist steps, of course, but that's the only place I've been to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see, we've got some more Blair Witch.
Yeah. You know what? I thought I was like a Blair Witch nut until I met Matt, and I realized I got nothing on him. You know what? That movie, I don't want to say it changed my life, but I've never been so terrified watching a movie in my entire life. I didn't sleep the night I saw that movie in the theater, and I've been in love with it ever since. It is one of my top 3 favorite films ever. And, you know, the same thing. I live nearby. Where is this place? I have to go to this mythical Burkittsville, and you know, I'm going to date myself here, but back in the day, my buddy and I printed out Google Map, printed directions, and we found these places or whatever, and we drove to them, and we drove around, and I shot footage, and I just I was in Wisconsin, and I loved it, and it was so great. Just that movie just meant so much to me, and driving out to these places is so much fun. Like Burkittsville, like Matt said, just the one scene in the cemetery, really, and the road they leave, and then, yeah, Seneca Creek Park. Last year was 25th anniversary screening in Burkittsville. That was, I know you two were there, that was so much fun. Mm-hmm. And that goes to that contentious relationship, I guess, that, 25 years ago, if you wanted to show a film in Burkittsville, I mean, they wanted to take Ed Sanchez and, kill him like the way we did with the witch out there, probably, that they were so mad at him. But time change, everything, heals all wounds, as they say. But yeah, it's a really cool place still. All these signs, unfortunately, the white sign, those are long gone because they got stolen and whatever, but the barn, you see, all the stuff, I mean, pretty much, they're starting to tear down now the diner, finally, because they're putting up the condos. Gone. And the house is gone. You got to be in the house. I never got to go in the house, but the rest of the stuff is, it's all still pretty much there. Yep, it's really cool. Yeah, it's become a big business. I'm friends with the guy that owns Buffalo Bill's house from Silence of the Lambs. It is now an Airbnb. Yep. BuffaloBillsHouse.com. His name is Chris. He's awesome. I went out there and interviewed him for the George Romero Foundation that I work for, and he actually had Tom Savini's special effects students dig a well about 4 feet down into the basement and recreated the well, and there's a basket of lotion hanging above it. There is a disco ball and a kimono with a wig in the basement, so yes, you can tuck in the basement.
It is great.
He encouraged you to get your tuck on.
He does encourage you to get your tuck on. I'm staying at the house with a bunch of friends of my wife in November. We decided to rent it out just to stay there for a weekend. The Short Circuit House in Astoria, Oregon is also now an Airbnb. A fan has bought the Goonies house. The previous owners were not fans of the movie. There's pictures out there where they literally have their house covered in tarps. They wanted nothing to do with it.
My aunt lives in Astoria, so anytime I visit her, I always drive by those two spots right away. As soon as I get there, I gotta check them out. Yep.
Yeah, and I know Breaking Bad is very popular, and the lady that owns Walter White's house is famously not a fan. But a lot of businesses embrace it as well. The Blairstown Diner in Blairstown, New Jersey, for the first Friday the 13th has wholeheartedly embraced it. They host events, they sell swag, they really invite it. So it's really turned into places finally embracing it because obviously they can make money off of it. But they realize that people come in from all over the world, so why not take advantage of that? And they've invited cast and crew out to the locations. I have a friend, Kenny Capperton, who does on-set cinema. You can go watch the movie with some of the cast or crew at specific locations. He's done The Overlook, Children of the Corn, Lost Boys. So there's a whole big business with film location tourism. And most of the times you can just type in the movie and filming locations in Google, and there's websites upon websites out there that have these locations. And a lot of them are good sometimes if they tell you, well, this is private property, or you can't go, or the business is closed down. Sometimes you luck out and you get to the business before they're closing for good, and you get a little bit more opportunity to walk around because they don't care. They're like, yeah, you can go in the back room or whatever. You can go up on the roof. Most places that you can't get to. But it's always nice when you go out and say, look, I'm a fan. Can I take some pictures? And if it's a business, buy a soda or something. They're appreciative of it, and they normally welcome you back. Or they start asking, we're like, yeah, you're like the 5th person that's come out in the last 2 weeks. And we're like, yeah, this movie's really popular. They shot it here however many years ago. So it definitely is one of those things that has become more and more as the world gets smaller with the internet, and there's more information out there and more people are sharing. Larissa's been on The Experience. That's how we met randomly. She showed up. I was doing The Experience one day, and her and her brother showed up. And she's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "This is the Blair Witch Experience," and that's how we connected. But every year, the mom and the little baby from the Blair Witch Project come out and meet with fans and tell their story. I had to track them down because they weren't credited in the movie properly. So that was one of the good things you do that comes out of doing some of this film location stuff is you never know who you're going to connect with, or you never know who you're going to end up discovering lives right next door. I was doing Halloween Kills locations, and I was in an alleyway, and a guy was walking his dog, and he was like, "Halloween?" I was like, "How could you tell?" And he had worked on the last 2 of the 3 films that they had filmed in North and South Carolina, or North Carolina and Georgia. And he was like, "Yeah, they filmed in front of my house." And I was like, "Well, I'll actually be in front of your house here in about 10 minutes once we go over." And we talked. He gave me and my daughter some production shirts. We swapped information, and 6 months later, he's like, "My friend was working on the movie, and she's selling some props." So I ended up with Judy Greer's Christmas sweater from Halloween Kills, and I was like, "All right." My daughter hates that character; she doesn't like her. So it's in a shadow box in the living room, so my daughter can see it every day.
So Neil, I know you do a lot with The Walking Dead. You want to explain some things you've done?
So it's a good segue, because what we were talking about is the person that has the bed and breakfast for Buffalo Bill's house, and some people that have bought houses that were seen in movies, and sitting on either side of me, people that have created tours of filming locations. My interest, how I approached it, was I was more interested in the business of fandom and how people would take that passion, that fandom, and kind of launch a business. I started interviewing people that really were focused on The Walking Dead. That's how it kind of started. And so I think, did you have the pictures of me at the Walking Dead down there at the Savannah?
I wasn't able to add them.
Oh, that's okay. So I had gone down to Savannah, and I started talking to several people that were down there and how their lives were affected by The Walking Dead. An example was one, Carrie Burns, and she, every time a friend would contact her and say, "Hey, I want to come to Sonoya, I'd love to see the locations where they shot the dead." So she would give them the tours, just like you probably have a friend that comes here and says, "I want to see the Exorcist steps and I want to see the Smithsonian." She would give tours of the places where they filmed The Walking Dead. And so it's just kept happening. So then she just said, well, I'm going to place on Facebook that on Sunday at 12 noon, I'll be at this bridge. If anyone wants to see the tour of the Walking Dead locations, and this is like probably season 3, so she didn't realize how big it was hitting yet. She goes, meet me at noon at this bridge, and a bunch of people showed up. So she said, again, the next weekend, people had flown in. The third weekend, people had flown in from overseas to get her to give a tour. That day, right after the tour, her and her best friend went to a diner, grabbed a napkin, wrote out a business plan, and soon they had 2 walking tours, a bike tour and a bus tour of film locations. It started just as a passion project, something fun, something fandom, turned into a business. One of the guys down there had a shop, and he was, he had really like kind of a barn area, and he was looking for the merchandising rights for Walking Dead. He kept seeing that people were coming down and looking at the sites and watching them film The Walking Dead. So he went to the producers and said, I'd like some merchandising rights. And they're like, this isn't Disney, this isn't like a cartoon. Who's gonna buy merchandising of The Walking Dead? So they said no. And so, but he leased them his barn, and it was a barn that was used in a couple pivotal scenes, and then they were hosting a party at that barn, the network, and they had people for network executives flying in to attend the party in the barn, and he went to them that day and said, you know what, you can't hold your party here. I have a contract with you that you can film here. I didn't say you could have a party. And they freaked out, and they were like, well, what do we do? What do we do? We have executives finding. He goes, give me merchandising rights. And they're like, all right, who cares? And they signed off the merchandising rights. And then he opened up the Walking Dead store in Sonoya. And when he opened it, they had to have a police presence because it got overwhelmed. A month later, he closed it down, had to reopen it in a much larger location because he saw the passion, he saw the fandom, and he saw the opportunity. Even the creators didn't see that, and that's what I was more interested in. All the people that have seen these passion areas of their fandom, whether it's The Exorcist, or whether it's Goonies, or whether it's Halloween, and then have started a business around it. And that was kind of where the Business is Dead, Resurrecting Entrepreneurship came around, about people who were saying, I want a passion over profit, fandom over income. I want to start this business. I want to be part of the fandom. If I never make a dollar, that's fine, because I'm engaging in my passion and I'm spending time with other people who have my same passion.
Yeah.
All right, so Matt Blazi, we're going to jump back to you for the Sixth Sense.
All right. So I'm from Hershey, Pennsylvania, so I'm lucky enough to be centered to a lot. I'm an hour and a half from Philly, and I'm 3 hours from Pittsburgh. So I ended up in Philly one day with my daughter, and I was like, all right, honey, guess what we're doing? And she's like, ugh, you know. She couldn't have rolled her eyes any harder. So I said, and she's never seen The Sixth Sense. So before we went to the event, I was like, all right, I need you to go stand in front of this church, and I need you to look like this. And I showed her the picture of Cole. And she's like, really? And I was like, just go do it. So we do it, and then we walked into the church, and to this day, she's like, you remember when we broke into that church? I was like, honey, the doors were open. They want you to come in. She was like, well, no one was there. And I was like, well, it wasn't locked. We could walk in. And then I had her recreate the shot of Cole with the ghost from the scene with Toni Collette in the car. I was like, you got to look over here like this and hold the camera like this. So she'll get into it, especially if she's into the movie. But doing stuff like this is fun. Philly is not the best city to try to drive into film locations. You have to park somewhere, and you kind of have to strategize a little bit. But these are kind of fun. She'll get into it. I've had her lay in the middle of the street. I've had her chase me. It's nice when she's into it. Like, she's really into the last 3 Halloweens. So every year we go to Georgia. Just not Judy Greer. We rent the camp from Friday the 13th, Part 6 down in Georgia. You can rent the camp out. You just have to, pay for it and whatnot. They give you the keys and they leave you alone. So a dozen of us do that. So one year on the way back, we swept through Savannah, Charleston, and Wilmington and did all the Halloween locations, and she's a big fan of the black phone, so she got to do all of those. Now, she'll complain about it to this day because of how hot it was, but she'll bring it up from time to time. So I like that I get to do this with her, and it connects her and me and the movie a little bit, which is why I like doing film locations, especially a movie that I love. Get to see that place in person. Finally, just has something about it, and getting a chance to see where everything is or what it looks like now. You know, we start to lose a lot of film locations after 20, 25 years due to, you know, urban progress and whatnot, or decay. So it's always a big thing is when something comes out that she's into, I try to figure out if we can go, because she wants to go to Vancouver for one of the shows that she likes, and I'm like, well, we can't just fly to Vancouver for the weekend. She doesn't understand that it's on the other side of Canada, but we'll get there eventually. But, you know, she's a good sport, and the wife and my son are also good sports, but it took a little while for them to kind of get on board with it. But they tend to have fun with it, and they get to go back and tell those stories. She comes back from school, and she's like, Dad, we talked about this new movie today, and I got to tell him that I met that person, or we went to that location and stuff. So seeing that makes me want to continue to do it more. Just hopefully she'll watch anything. So I can say, hey, we're going to go to this location, you should watch this movie. So it's a great way to feed into her movie education, and a great way to connect with her when she's a teenager and buried in her phone all night, but it works.
All right, we've got about 5 minutes left, so I'm going to quickly go through the last few slides. We can get some questions if anyone has questions. Friday the 13th? Friday the
13th. So northern New Jersey, like Bergen County, New Jersey, they shot on a real Boy Scout camp, Camp No-Be-Bo-Sco. Yeah, off limits, you could not go in there. Well, times change, and they made an agreement, and you know, money works. So now there is a tour, and I got to go on Friday, October 13th, 2023, and like a police escort in there. It's like your VIP. You literally get to see everything. The bathroom where she gets the axe in the face, the right on the beach there where Kevin Bacon gets the arrow through the neck. It was amazing. It is not the cheapest tour to go to, but if you love Friday the 13th, maybe make a trip to New York City while you're there or something, go for it. I had a blast doing it.
All right, so this is one that's really hard to get into, with Silence of the Lambs. However, my father is retired FBI, so so I grew up, and then when I saw the movie, I'm like, oh, I see his parking spot in the film. So these are some photos in the beginning when Jodie Foster is running through the woods. You see the hurt, pain, agony, love it. Of course, now they've added a few more signs. There's the stairs she's gone down. Again, they've renovated. There was something about a red phone. I guess the scene with the red phone, that's the hallway where that took place. So, Amityville.
Amityville. Every time we're on one of my episodes on the podcast, the tangents we go on to always go into Amityville. I don't know the reason for that, but that's fine. I've done probably 5 Amityville episodes. I love it. Amityville is, the Amityville Horror. There's a real house on Ocean Avenue, and it is about an hour west. It's on Long Island from New York City. It's an easy drive. It's a lovely, beautiful, affluent neighborhood. And like you said, like Matt says, don't feel stupid about standing out front, because the 3 or 4 times that I've been for 5 minutes and taking pictures, 3 or 4 people drive by and do the exact same thing. It's all day long. Again, I can't stress this enough, and for all the places, this is, again, private property. Please, please, please do not step foot on these people's property. Stand on the street, take your photos. You are being watched by about 1,000 cameras at Amityville, by the way. So please respect that property. But it's a lovely, lovely place. And when you stop and think about what happened there, though, it's fairly spooky.
All right, Jaws.
If you ever go to Martha's Vineyard, every person that grew up on Martha's Vineyard will tell you they were in Jaws. Or their father was in Jaws. Now, a lot of them were. But one of the fun things about, if you've never been to Martha's Vineyard, it's one of the most beautiful places out there. The entire film was obviously shot on the island. That's a picture of my wife and our friends with a little, oh my God, Alex Kittner, Jeffrey Voorhees. I was getting his real name and his fake name mixed up. He still lives on the island, and he does cameos every day from the beach. He's like, hey, it's the dead Alex Kittner on the beach where I got eaten by a shark 50 years ago. Super cool dude, gotten to know him over the last couple of years. Every time we're on the island, he's like, you want to meet down at the beach? And we're like, sure. So we just walk on the beach and catch up. The town does embrace it. They're going to have a huge 50th anniversary celebration this year. I think they're getting ready to start making their announcement this year. As much as I'd love to go, I can't imagine how that island is going to look. It is tiny, but one of the most beautiful places. Again, they embrace it. Not only do they get tourism, they get Jaws tourism. Every shop has a Jaws shirt or sticker or something shark related on it. But it is one of the best filming locations that I get to go to every year, because we go to vacation up there with our friends, and we take the ferry over and we just drive around all day. We do all the greatest hits. We try to do new things every once in a while, but just being there on that beach or in the town or seeing the lighthouses are absolutely beautiful. So there's always something to do. If you can find a filming location, find a nice restaurant nearby. Again, you never know who you're going to run into, but these are the fun things that if you haven't done it, do it.
All right, and with 1 minute left, we got Signs is the last one.
Yeah, I'm a big M. Night Shyamalan fan, and Signs is my favorite of his. The picture on the right is obviously from the Real Pharmacy outside of Doylestown. The poor gentleman behind the thing, I said, "Can you take my picture like Mel Gibson?" And he was like, "Yeah." So again, you got to live it up. And then they built the house in a field for the movie. And grew all the corn. So I had to use some Google imaging, Google Earth imaging, and a couple other resources with videos to find out exactly where the house was. And I'm kind of standing right where the driveway was after doing a couple of hours of research and lining everything up. But again, it's just out in the middle of a field. Signs, one of my favorite movies. But just, you can't trip in Philly without hitting an M. Night Shyamalan location. And they're kind of fun to do. That area really loves the fact that he continues to film there and brings a lot of tourism into the area.
All right, well, we're out of time, so unfortunately we can't do questions, but if you want to meet us afterward, feel free. We all clearly love talking about media and what we do. So thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
There you go. Hold on, get in here. Hurry up. Okay. Nice.